If you're watching this message was meant to find you, because I am here to give a testimony of how miracles, how prayers, whatever word you like to call it, manifesting, meditation, magic, whatnot, they actually do happen. You just have to allow yourself to be open to recognizing them and discerning them, and just honestly believe in the magic of miracles. So, just to give a prelude, okay, give you a clincher. I got to see Pope Leo. He was literally 2 meters away from me. Totally unplanned. Obviously, not like I was invited to celebrate Mass with him, but it happened. And it's all thanks to this one saint. So here's how it started. Usually our family always, we always come to Italy. And of course, as a Filipino, you need a visa. And in the past, it usually takes about, 2 weeks to get a visa. But it was literally already a month and we still had no Schengen visa. And we were set to leave November 1st. It was already October 28th. And right on October 28th, my sister was like, oh my God, dear St. Jude, I swear, if you give us our visas, Bianca is going to vlog about you. And to be honest, I had never prayed to St. Jude in my life. If you guys know me, I'm more of like a St. Michael kind of girl. So I'm like, okay, whatever, we can go to the church where St. Jude is and we can vlog about it, whatever. And little did we know, at 6 p.m. on October 28th, my sister gets a text that our visas are ready. October 28th is St. Jude's feast day. Miracle number 1. And so that only gave me more of a push that Bianca, you need to make this happen. Gotta find a way to vlog about him. Gotta find an angle. Okay, it'll come to me. Let's see. So we get to Rome. That's November 1st. No, we leave November 1st. I'm giving you a timeline just to let you guys know how fast everything transpired. Get to Rome November 2nd. And then, of course, as a family ritual, we always like to give thanks and do our sacrifice at Scala Santa. It's honestly one of the most amazing spiritual, honestly, the best experience type of church that anyone that I can recommend to, because trust me, I've been to hundreds of churches all over the world, and I believe that Scala Santa in Rome is probably my number 1. So after we do that, we usually like to hear a daily mass at St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican. That's always the drill. So we get to the Vatican, hear mass. Little did we know that it was a high mass. So high mass means it's a lot longer. And because it happened so much longer, by the time that we wanted to enter the holy doors, it was already closed. They're already letting people out. So we're like, okay, never mind, no problem. We can just do it tomorrow, November 3rd. So November 3rd comes. We're at the Vatican. Wasn't sure what we were going to do yet. We were outside and my sister was like, you know what? There's no line. Let's take a chance. Let's just go in already. Go through the holy doors really quick because we've done this before. No lines. Amazing. Get through it. And I even thought, I'm not going to film about this anymore. I'm just going to go through the doors, say a short prayer, because the goal was not even so much to enter the holy doors. It was really so that we could get to the chapel of St. Jude, which was right beside where they were holding mass, right at the very back. But because yesterday they were already pushing people out, the security, they were super strict, we didn't get to say thank you to that altar of St. Jude. And so in order to get to the chapel or the altar of St. Jude, you have to make a huge detour now because it's Jubilee year. And if you know Jubilee year, it is a time when every 25 years, pilgrims and tourists from all over the world come to Rome, come to the Vatican to give thanks, to pray, and honestly, maybe just to gander because they're just curious. So many people. So everything is like a one-way lane. It was not as easy to get to where we wanted to. You get the picture. And we're finally going to get to the altar of St. Jude. But there's like these barricades. And we're not talking like velvet rope barricades. We're talking like really thick wooden blocks. So we're thinking, oh my God. So the time check is, it was about like maybe 10 minutes from us lining up, security check, and there was a crowd. So we were thinking like, what is happening? Oh no, they blocked it. Okay. So we were gonna go to that chapel there, but it's closed off right now. So we can see a couple of priests walking towards us. Gotta wonder what it's for. And literally, the altar of St. Jude is just right there. Once again, could not have access to it, just like the night before. But then I saw that there was a Swiss guard. And if you guys know that Swiss guards are the official security guards, if you will, of the Pope. So that means, oh my gosh, the Pope must be here. And we are standing there. And finally, I asked the security, is the Pope coming? And then with a little bit of hesitation, he's like, yeah. So we're like, oh my God. This is the first door, and security said that he's coming from that door. So you can see there's all these gentlemen with coattails, like really formal attire coming out of that door. So that means, something's happening. But then again, we don't know what time. Like, we have no idea. Who knows, right? And so we just stood there and we were like, okay, St. Jude, you're obviously not just giving us a visa, but you are giving us an even bigger experience because we just might see Pope Leo. And then, as we were getting our hopes up, because we started seeing all these clergymen, in full uniforms, full outfits, brothers, I reckon cardinals, priests, all the bishops, all the names, whatever it is. I'm sorry if I'm getting it wrong. But they're all going in and out the doors. And apart from that, you could even see all these men and women. They were all in black and formal wear, especially the men. They were like in coattails. So we thought, you don't get dressed up that fancy if you're just going to church. There must be something really important that's happening today. And so obviously there was going to be a mass that was going to be celebrated, and I reckon that Pope Leo was going to preside. And so we were thinking there's no way that they're going to let regular people in. But then all of a sudden, first of all, we see Cardinal Tagle. He's walking towards the crowd. We're like, oh my God, shout out to the Philippines. Hey, girls. So with the fact that we saw Cardinal Tagle, that means because apparently he's very close to the Pope, we're like, he must be. Pope Leo must be in the reins somewhere in the vicinity, and it's happening in a few minutes. So this was maybe about like 10:10, 10:15, still standing there, not knowing. And then suddenly we just see that if this was like the barricade, if we were on the very end side, right on the other side where the Swiss guard was, they were letting people in. And we're like, what is happening? So they're letting people in from that side, which is, we're wondering how that is happening. But apparently they said that there are special tickets for today. We're like, oh no, but we don't have tickets. And then somebody asked the guard, it's like, hey, can we actually go in? And they're like, yeah, you have to go to that side where the Swiss guard is. So we're thinking, okay, I'm just worried that if we leave our really good spot right by the barricade, what if we get to where the Swiss guard is and they actually said, no, you can't come in? So it's like to lose our spot or do a chance to come in? We don't know. But we just stood there and just hoped to God. And suddenly they stopped letting people in again. And then maybe about like 10:20, 10:25, the same security guard came up and started talking to us again, said that the mass was at 11 a.m. And they were like, they're not letting any people in. But then something happened. Suddenly, these like red accordion panels started just like closing up. They were putting it to block the view of the people from apparently where the Pope was going to be exiting, where all those dignitaries, those people with coattails, we were like, oh no, then that means we can't get to film. But the nice thing is, because I was right on the most very side, there was a confessional right there, and through the glass and a damn electric fan, I could still see a snippet that maybe I can just get to see Pope Leo ever so quickly and get a snippet of him. But then another set of accordion panels come in, and we're like, oh my God, that is it. There's absolutely no point. And then you know what? People actually started leaving, and I swear I don't want to say I swear to God, in maybe 5 minutes. It just took about 5 minutes where that really nice guard had come up to us, and we knew that the mass was going to start in about 20 minutes or so. And I said, possiamo andare a misa, can we go to mass? And he said, no, but in a span of just 2 minutes. And we were just praying, St. Jude, you didn't get us this far to only get us this far. Please help us get a seat. Prove the miracle of impossible cases. And literally the guard comes, and while they were opening the barricades where the Swiss guard was, he pushed our barricade, and he's like, come. Oh my God, guys, they just let us enter to hear mass right now. Thank God for that security. He was so kind. Oh my God. And just like that, we find ourselves with a seat, and right when you sit down, you have like not just a normal missala, which is usually just a back and forth piece of paper to tell you like the order of the mass, the hymns, the responses, but this was like an actual booklet, a special booklet with a date and saying it was Pope Leo presiding over the mass. And because it was All Souls weekend, it made sense that it was a mass that was dedicated for all the clergymen, the holy men, all the holy people, including the departed Pope Francis, who had passed away last April, and it was a mass dedicated to them. So it was quite beautiful. It was said in Latin, it was said in Italian, and then on both sides you had these beautiful choirs that were just singing so magnificently, echoing all throughout the church. And then you also see that it was obviously televised from all sides of the room. And then you can just see really the altar. For me, it is one of the most beautiful altars I've ever seen from all the churches I've been anywhere in the world. And really, just the backdrop of everything was just absolutely stunning. So, where's Pope Leo? And here comes, like a Disney parade, pardon the comparison, because it really was in their beautiful outfits, coming from afar, and I was filming them. And it was nice because I think security knows that people are going to film. And just to give you a reference, all the seats, like the actual pews, were for the important people, or like, I guess, the invited guests. And then for all the ones who were, it was like the luck of the draw, the ones who were luckily chosen from the crowd, which was me and my sister and the rest of us. Probably they allowed maybe 80 people to hear mass. I might be even generous with that number. It might have been even less, right? And it was just amazing. And then so they're walking towards the altar. There were so many cardinals. Probably there were 60, 80 cardinals. And because they all dress the same, and of course, I have never met these people, never seen them up close. I was even getting confused, like, oh my God, like which one is Pope Leo? And of course, he is the one at the very end. And so I'm like, oh my God. And I know on camera it may seem like he was so much further, but he was honestly maybe just 2 meters away from me. That's how close he was, where he was just walking right by us. And it was honestly a surreal feeling. It wasn't even so much seeing Pope Leo. It was the feeling that we were literally not even planning to come here today. It was just because they were pushing us out of the Vatican yesterday. We weren't going to come here today. And little did we know, literally in a span of an hour, we're here seated down to celebrate a high mass with Pope Leo at the Vatican during the Jubilee year on All Souls weekend. Like, what? I know. And so special thanks to St. Jude for making all this happen, because it was truly so unexpected. It wasn't even something that we manifested or that we wanted. It was more like we just wanted to have a great trip. We wanted to visit him at his altar, and he delivered the best abundance of all. Because if anything, it's kind of witty, because, you know, in terms of content, Pope Leo is so current. He's so trendy. So it's almost like Pope Leo was like, let me give you something to vlog about. Because, as they say, that when man plans, God laughs. Today was never meant to be this vlog right now about this miracle. It was about to be something else. But suddenly, for some reason, all my files actually got corrupted. And I was in Rome when this happened, and I had no idea what I was going to do. And literally the answer was right in front of me. It was already in my camera roll that, girl, you just so Pope Leo. And St. Jude made that happen, and you are not going to make that your vlog. I was like, oh yeah. That's why this is in vertical form right now, because I was just going to do a short reel. But then so many things started happening. I'm like, oh my God, this deserves a full vlog. Exactly what my sister promised to St. Jude. It really was a spectacle, I have to say. And right after the Mass, you know, and during the Mass, I was even brought to tears. And again, it wasn't even so much that I saw Pope Leo. What really impressed me the most was that St. Jude never prayed to him. And here he was, giving me so much love and support in so many ways, and to my sister, just to show him that he is real, miracles are real, his love is real, and that his presence, he wanted us to feel it in every single way. And so when the rest of the clergymen, including the Pope, had exited, it was no longer through the middle pew. And, you know, we took our photos, and then we were saying goodbye. But then, once again, security was ushering us out. And by the way, so from where we were, you know, we were right really in the back of the church, where we were closest to the altar, nearest the Pope. And right in the middle is, you see, like the great altar of St. Peter. And right underneath is actually where St. Peter, the apostle, is actually buried. And which serves in a way as like a barrier between the people who heard the Mass near the Pope, and then the people who were really afar, who could just see what they could, right? So we were truly so blessed. But then as we were exiting, and we were like, okay, finally, we're going to get to go to the altar of St. Jude and say thank you to him. Once again, the security was like, I'm sorry, you need to go. And that is St. Jude. We just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for giving us this experience. But I got to show you a small little clip of what you know what the altar is like, so that the next time, or if you ever find yourselves in St. Peter's Basilica, have a gander at St. Jude and say hello, right? But then St. Jude had other plans. So just to backtrack, last Christmas, we actually spent it here in Rome, and then we spent New Year's in Malta, one of the churches that my sister wanted to visit, San Salvatore di Lauro. There was even a beautiful nativity scene on the outside, and then in the inside, what this church is known for is you will find the relic of St. Jude. But then, during Christmas, it wasn't there. And apparently he was going on a world tour. He was in America and Mexico. So we got to say a prayer, but didn't get to see the relic until that day, November 3rd. And so we get there November 3rd, right after we had gone from the Vatican. And it was there, his arm waving, as if like to say, hi, I've been waiting for you. No, really, he has been waiting for me. I haven't prayed to him at all in my life. And yeah, anyway, so like the arm inside, like you see, there's like a glass. I reckon that the relic is like a bone from his forearm. Yeah, it's, I guess, a holy piece of his body that they put there that people can pray to. And so that's where you can find the holy relic of St. Jude Thaddeus, one of the apostles of Jesus. And it was there, and it was quite nice. We said more than a prayer, and really gave super thanks. If anything, like, I was talking to him like, girl, you super delivered. That was so like bonga. Super bongga talaga ni St. Jude. So yeah, what can I say? Wherever you're from, wherever you are in your life, trust the timing. Trust the timing of your life. That sometimes, even if something that you want is not happening at the second, that timing, that pause is because it's divine protection. Or sometimes because the inspiration still needs to sort of stew in your heart and your soul, and just allow yourself to trust yourself to discern that great inspiration, divine inspiration, comes in many forms, in many ways, in many places. And that's where I am now, sharing it with you. So I'm just so happy. I'm so grateful. And I had the courage to share this story with all of you. Some people might think it's kind of woo-woo, but I really think it's wow. So from Greece, I'm Bianca Valerio. Until the next miraculous sighting. And from St. Jude. So if you've never heard of him before, you do now. And subscribe to my YouTube channel, because maybe you just might discover something else. And until then, bye guys.